What's up? What's going on, everybody? The Monday edition is on the air. Stefan Martinez, Nicholas Gambaro. Um, it's gonna be a busy show for you guys today. It's gonna be a special show for you guys today because we got a bunch of stuff to get into. So we figure we started by um talking about Jacob DeGrom and the latest with him. The Mets ace was put on the disabled list, the injured list today, I should say, with side/lat tightness, which is something he was dealing with before this start, which is why he was pushed back originally. And I'm sorry, they say it's nothing to be worried about. But you're asking me, I'm worried because this is two times now that this guy's taken a mound and he's had similar issues, whether it be a lat, whether it be a side, and nobody seems to know why he's dealing with this stuff. What's up, Dougie? And
What's up?
I'm really concerned. I looked at the way he left his start yesterday, and I got to tell you that's a bit disconcerting for me. Hopefully, I'm not reading too much into it. Now he got some tests at New York Presbyterian after the game. They said that they didn't really see anything too significant, so that's a good thing, I guess. But at the same time, you know, the fact that he's going through this for a second time gotta be a bit disconcerting if you're a Met fan.
It does, especially like you said, he was previously injured, but I think he'll be okay at the end of the day. But it is something that definitely, if you're the Mets, you should definitely keep an eye out for.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, like I said, it's not the end of the world. I'm not, getting ready to call their season over yet if he's not right. But I do believe that if you're the Mets, you have to be extremely cautious with this guy. This guy is not only the best pitcher in the sport for my money, but he's the face of your franchise. And if you lose him, you lose a lot. Now, I know
Yeah.
you'll probably say, well, yeah, Pete could be the face of the franchise. DeGrom, to me, is the face of the franchise.
Yes,
That
I agree.
mentions Tom Seaver. So if he's not right, and if you gotta, have some second guessing done with him, I'd be very, very concerned if I was a Met fan. Will he be okay ultimately? Yes, I believe so. But the fact that they didn't get this right the first time and he went back out there and had to deal with similar issues is a bit disconcerting to me. But like I said, I'm
Right.
not a medical professional, so what do I know? I'm just a bozo from Brooklyn who loves sports.
Yeah, but we'll see what happens. Yeah, the Mets season ain't over, but if they do lose him for a considerable amount of time, that's not good.
Now they
But
have won.
hopefully that won't be the case.
Let's put that in context. They did win again. They swept the Diamondbacks. They won 5 in a row. Frankie Lindor's bat seems to be waking up a bit, but this sort of put a damper
No
on
more booing, I guess.
for now.
For now.
For now. But yeah, that's just I don't get that either. I don't get it. What are you booing for? Anyway, whatever. Let me just say this though. I will leave it to you because you're the you know hockey aficionado in this tree on this duo. So let me ask you this: everybody
Sure.
making a big deal about the Maple Leafs clinching. Should we be making a big deal about this?
I mean, it is their second only title since the expansion era, since the late 60s. So in a sense, it is a big deal, and it is an accomplishment, but at the same time, they breezed through the division. They played in a division, and I'm sorry for any if Canadians are watching out there, but even I think Canadians would have to admit it was the easiest division this season, and of course it was special circumstances. But I mean, what's going to matter is in the actual playoffs. And now, so far, what it's looking like in terms of the standings, they may play Montreal, and Montreal ain't just going to lay over, and that's arguably the biggest rivalry in the sport next to Boston and Montreal. So I don't think that's not going to be a series that's going to be over quick by any means. But to answer your question, it's an accomplishment, but let's not flip out like they just won the Stanley Cup. Like, we got to chill out.
That's the vibe, and I'm going to be honest with you. That is the vibe.
Let's not. Come on now.
That's the vibe I got watching this weekend, seeing all the coverage. Oh, they just clinched. They just clinched. They just clinched. I'm glad they clinched.
And even if they win a series, all right, yes, you're going to be excited if you're a Maple Leaf fan and be ecstatic because it'll be the first time since 2004. But come on now. You got to really be tested if you play against a Central team, a Western team, or a team in the East. None of these teams in the North Division, they're not a big test. They're not. I'm just being completely honest. I mean, they're good teams, but they're not great.
What makes you say that there's not a big test? I'm curious to know, what makes you say that?
I just think Winnipeg hasn't been great. They were overhyped. Edmonton is beyond overhyped. And look, what McDavid is doing, I mean, it's absolutely insane, the numbers he's putting up. But we see that every season with him and Leon Draisaitl.
Right.
They're not a complete team. And Montreal is good. I would say great, but they do have certain pieces. But they're getting old too. They got Corey Perry, who's 90. They got Carey Price. Brendan Gallagher is really good. Talented goal scorer. But other than that, and they have a few other pieces. Shea Weber they have.
So you don't this is a real accomplishment, is basically what you're saying.
It is, but I wouldn't be. I mean, I can't say I'm not a Maple Leaf fan, but I don't know. I think as an observer who watches the sport all the time and who loves and analyzes it, like, I gotta wait and see for them to play a really, really great team for me to actually judge them this season. That's what I'll say on that.
Mm-hmm. And I think it's fair to a degree. I think you have a point because you want to see the competition increase before you go crowning anybody Stanley Cup champions, which is a fair point in your regard. However, I do think that it's an interesting time because of the pandemic, because of everything that we're playing through. You can't fault them for who's on the schedule.
Oh no, absolutely not.
So that in itself is an accomplishment. Would you have liked to see them do it in a full season with everything being equal? Yeah, sure. Because the mark of this team is that they're softer. They don't really have the heart or the grit or the things like that. You know what I compare them to, Big Dog? I compare them to the Los Angeles Clippers. They have all the star power in the world. You have Kawhi Leonard, you have Paul George, you have DeMarcus Cousins, now a diminished DeMarcus Cousins, but you have Rondo, you have all these names in the Clippers, and it's just those guys, they cannot win a big game to save their lives. And remember, they were up 3-1 in the bubble last year and lost to the Denver Nuggets 3 in a row. Doc Rivers ended up losing his job. There were concerns about whether Paul George and Kawhi Leonard could play together, or they do too much load management. And you kind of get the sense with this Maple Leaf team. Yes, they're a good team. Yes, they have weapons. Yes, they have skill. They have all these things, but you kind of get the sense it's like we kind of been here before with this club, and
100%. You
kind of want something to change. Now, could it be the year that it changes? Absolutely, it could. I'm not saying it can't. I think it's hard when you talk about teams who have championship aspirations but don't really know how to put it together or struggle with, okay, this is the type of team we're going to be. This is how we're going to play the game. This is how we're going to go about winning. And I don't see a winning formula for this team. Now that just could be me. I could be, obviously I'm not in Canada. I don't see them on a nightly basis, but it just it seems to me like something's missing with them. And that's all I'll
Oh,
say.
definitely. We've been saying it for years.
You know, and it's the same thing with the Wild in Minnesota. The Minnesota is super talented, but till you see them actually win a playoff series, until you see them actually take the next step as a franchise, you're wondering what type of team do you have?
Exactly.
We talked about that with the Capitals for years before they won the championship.
Yep.
So it's kind of like that in that sense, like you kind of hope that they figure it out.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Um Speaking of hockey, and I wanted to ask you this question, picking back off the Ranger conversation that we had last week, and with all the movement and all the craziness that was at Madison Square Garden on Thursday's show. Um, I kind of get the sense that this is not going to be the last shakeup for front offices around the NHL. You have a lot of people talking about there could be changes in Chicago. There could be changes in a myriad of places. And I wanted to get your thoughts on where do you think there should be changes? Like we saw some with the Rangers here. We've seen some, of late with Philly, with Pittsburgh and Hextall and that crew. But what's the next front office shakeup you see around the league? And what team do you think needs a front office shakeup? If you had to guess, who needs a front office shakeup before we get into this playoffs and a couple of ideas I got for you?
That's really tough. That is a really, really tough. Because I'm just thinking in my head. Now Detroit's been the worst team in the league forever for the past few years. This will be their 5th straight season without playoffs, but they do have Stevie Yzerman, and he does have a plan in place. Now, how long is that plan going to take? Nobody knows, but I think they have a full trust in him because of what he did in Tampa before he left, bringing them to the Cup final, and look at all the players they have now. Chicago, they did something not too long ago. I remember they had a front office shakeup. Philly is an interesting spot for me. I know they got rid of Hextall, but you take a look at it, they were supposed to be a team that, would maybe a cup contender or Eastern Conference final team.
Right. After they played in the bubble last year, yeah.
Right. They played awesome before they lost to the Islanders, but I don't know. Just something about that team and they had Carter Hart injured, so just a lot of things did not go their way, but they have a mixture of old and young guys, but like Voracek, Couturier, guys have been banged up. Giroux, is he going to end up staying a Flyer? Will he retire a Flyer? There's a lot of questions there, and who knows, we could see some more front office shakeups in Philadelphia. I think that's one spot to really look out for.
Absolutely, I think that's fair.
And also, too, although in all honesty, I don't think much is going to happen. They're probably going to give him another year, maybe another year. But Toronto, if they lose in the first round, which I think is possible, I mean, do you still hang on to Dubas? I know you just hired Sheldon Keefe last year, and he's Dubas's guy because they work together with the AHL affiliate. Again, for the Maple Leafs, it's got to stay in the Toronto, Mississauga, Ontario familia. They got to stay together.
I don't like it because it limits your ability to be able to make moves and see what else is out there. that just limits you and it puts you in a
Half the
box.
roster's from Ontario. I mean, I know it's like I don't know. It's confusing.
It's not only is it confusing, but it's also mind numbing. Like, so what? They're not good hockey players outside of the country of Canada. There's no great hockey players in the States. Like, what are we doing here?
I know.
No, but this is the other thing too, and I wanted to mention this at you. I think the Kings are due for a front office shakeup. The Kings have missed the playoffs the last few years. I think if you're a King fan, you got to be looking at it going, maybe this will be the time that we get our front office shaken up and we do some things a little bit different. And you know, I think
Possibly. San Jose is a place too, because they were always like LA and even Anaheim too. All the three California teams were forced to be reckoned with, 4 or 5 years ago. But they haven't been in the postseason in a few years. So
yeah.
But LA could be a place too to watch out for.
Yeah. As we're coming down the stretch here, what I would say, we got 3 games left in the regular season before most teams are getting ready to,
Well, yeah, like tonight's really the big last night, but all this week you have like 1 or 2 games a day, like just for makeup, and then the playoffs are supposed to start this Saturday.
Okay.
May 15th. So we'll see. Although they did have a game scheduled for Saturday and Sunday, but the time was to be determined. So maybe they'll switch those games to like during the week so they could get the playoffs started, because their goal is to get the season over with by the time the Olympics start.
Right. Right. I mean, hopefully that is something that they are able to figure out. Because I know the NBA is having this same issue right now with, what do we, what do we do if the season goes and it affects the Olympics, and what happens when, things are, what if something conflicts, if the finals goes to like maybe early August? And so I know that's something that they're considering as well.
What's up, Zach?
That's an interesting one, because how does both these sports affect the Olympics now? Would you say most of the playoff races in hockey are decided, or are there still some?
So seeding and who's playing who really isn't decided yet. The only series we do know for sure is Tampa Bay versus Florida will be their first ever playoff matchup against each other. They actually play each other tonight for the last time in the regular season, and that's going to jockey them for position, who's going to have home ice in the series.
Mm-hmm.
So that's pretty exciting. But yeah, no one knows yet. Although Vegas could clinch the President's Trophy tonight and the Western Division title, Montreal could clinch the final playoff spot in the North. That's the only playoff spot left. Every other playoff spot is filled.
Okay, so.
So,
I mean, the way it stands right now, what are we looking at in terms of like, are they giving anybody any ideas? Okay, this was what it would look like right now. If everything stayed the same, you would get this team versus this team, or all that still undecided for the most part.
I mean, we know most of the division winners.
Mm-hmm.
But positioning could still kind of alter a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
So they got to wait and see till all the games finish.
Which is true, yeah.
To see who's going to play who. I mean, after tonight, you'd probably get a better sense of where everyone's going to stack up.
Mm-hmm.
We'll have to see.
Because it's a little
I'm intrigued who the Islanders are going to play. It's either going to be Washington or Pittsburgh. So.
Oh, okay. Okay, we'll see. We'll see how it shakes out. But Wow, Washington or Pittsburgh? Where have I heard that movie before?
Yeah, I feel we play them constantly.
Oh man,
Washington last year and then Pittsburgh the year before that.
right.
So I'm
Interesting.
amped. Also, too, before we end on hockey, I just want to mention Ryan Miller, the winningest American goalie in the NHL, has retired. He played 796 games. He had a 2.64 goals against average and 914 save percentage, which is really, really good. He also played in the Olympics for the United States. He had that famous run in 2010 in the Olympics for them. He was drafted in the 5th round by Buffalo in '99. Besides the Sabres, he also played for the Blues, Canucks, and the Ducks, who he just retired with.
Wow, it's a nice career. What's that? 21 years? 20 years?
18 years in the NHL,
Wow.
and originally from East Lansing, Michigan, if I could speak English.
Yeah, nice.
So congrats to Ryan Miller, one of my favorite goalies to watch. Great talent. So, yeah, congrats to him on an awesome career. Not a cup, but awesome career nonetheless.
Yeah, I mean, I think championships, I think that's an interesting way to talk about players, and we use it too much and unfairly. Not everybody's going to be able to win a championship. I mean, we all know how important it is and how great championships are, but that just shouldn't determine how great a player someone is.
Oh, I agree. Mm-hmm.
Based on Hall of Fame credentials. Now, does the championship help? Yeah, no doubt. But when you had a career like that, 18 years, and you were probably one of the most productive goalies probably to come out of this country, that's pretty impressive stuff as well. So congrats to him on retirement. We hope he finds, some other things that he's passionate about. And we'll see what he does down the road. Speaking of seeding and playoffs and play-ins, let me just tell you something right now. There are a lot of different league executives in the NBA that believe this playoff tournament is going to generate tons of revenue, television, especially with the teams that are in it. The Lakers, Blazers,
the Knicks.
Well, no, the Knicks aren't in the play-in tournament. They would automatically qualify as of now. But I'm talking about the last 4 teams in. You're talking about legitimate, teams on both sides. Now, Charlotte's interesting with LaMelo Ball, and you have some questions. Does Dallas fall all the way to the 7th seed? You got Golden State fighting for a play-in. So the playing in the West is going to be at bonkers. Do the Raptors, end up making one of the last playing spots? What happens in Chicago? Do they make a run to the last playing spot? The play-in right now in both conferences is going to be absolutely nuts. And by the way, I think the NBA, this is how they wanted it. They wanted it this way, so they could say, "Look, we're going to put these 2 teams to do battle, 4 teams to do battle against each other, and we're going to see how it shakes out." And I'm telling you, Adam Silver knows he's sitting on a gold mine. And I'm going to tell you, I don't think it goes away. I think the top 6 make the playoffs again next year, and they do the play-in tournament, despite what LeBron says about him not liking it because the Lakers are in a position where they'd have to play in the play-in tournament currently because they're 7th. This is fun if you're a basketball fan, because if one of those teams get hot, like a Dallas or a Portland even if the Lakers get hot during the last 3 or 4 games of the regular season, that could be very compelling, start to the NBA playoffs. So I'm excited.
I personally wouldn't like it in hockey. I think it's different for just this year and last season with COVID and everything that went on.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I don't know. Like it's a cool idea, but like, what about those teams that would be technically in the playoffs, like the 7th and 8th seed, and then now you got to play into getting the playoffs. Like it's like the wild card in baseball, which I can't stand. But
I can't stand it because it's just one game. If the wild card was a series, I'd enjoy it more.
But even so, that 14 to me should be then that whoever's better should be in the playoffs. Shouldn't have to play one game. Or even a series for it.
I mean, but television executives will tell you this is a gold mine because this is like real life Hunger Games. If you lose, you're out.
That's all they care about is money, but
I mean, that's what sports is now, buddy. It's a business. And to have LeBron versus Luka in a playing game, you don't think Adam Silver in the league is going?
Of course.
Cha-ching! Like it couldn't have played out any better. Now in the Eastern Conference is a bit of a letdown because there's not really any Eastern Conference other than probably the Hornets with LaMelo Ball and maybe Chicago if they're able to sneak in, or maybe one of those teams. But I feel like the Western Conference has this it could be really crazy depending on how it all shakes out. If Memphis is able to hold their spot, Golden State, and Steph Curry has been, I can't even describe how phenomenal he's been for the last maybe month and a half. I feel like he's dropping 40 nightly, and we kind of taking it for granted because that guy is a human highlight reel. The way he's able to just will his team to victories, and you kind of hope that they can get in just to see him, in the playoffs. But Adam Silver, I know he's loving it. There were conversations actually about, making this a thing. Now, I don't think they do this as a regular thing, just because I think the competition committee is going to be like, let's go back to the way it used to be. Let's not ruffle any feathers, especially when you got LeBron and Luka Doncic saying this is stupid. That's not good. When you got two faces of the league that aren't really opposed to it because of their current situations. Let's be fair; they're only saying this because they're in the playing tournament. If it weren't for that, if it weren't their teams, I don't think they would care. But that's just me personally.
Yeah, and I feel like a lot of what LeBron says, I think Adam Silver listens into that and go, all right, let's keep him and the rest of the stars happy. And
of course, this is a star-driven league. It's a star-driven league, so of course you're gonna make sure you hear from all parties involved, including LeBron and Luka Doncic and all the teams that are fighting to get into this playing tournament. But I will say this: depending on how these things shake out, like what happens with Dallas, what happens with Portland and Memphis and all these teams that are fighting, I'll use the Blazers and the Mavericks, for example. I think the Mavericks have been trying to trade Kristaps Porzingis for the last maybe, I want to say 8-9 months. Haven't had success because of his contract and because he's a diva. Another thing to watch is if the Blazers don't make the playoffs and if they bow out in the first round and Dame goes out meekly,
Melo watch.
He might go up to ownership and be like,
I know you're thinking about it.
I want out. And I wouldn't be surprised if New York is one of his destinations. New York, the Clippers, Dallas possibly to go play with Luka Doncic. By the way, that Damian Lillard, Luka Doncic's backcourt.
I feel like, and correct me if I'm wrong because you're the Knicks fan, but doesn't it feel to me like there's almost unfinished business in his mind? Like they should have made it to the conference finals in 2013. Like, did the Knicks in your mind was that their last really great chance to win a championship, or you thought it would have been tough to beat the Heat that year?
I thought they matched. I thought they were the best team to match up with Miami that year because they had LeBron, they had Bosh, Miami was loaded, but Miami was also you saw the end of the run coming. They felt kind of vulnerable,
right?
Where Melo was at the peak of his powers, and you kind of saw all right, if I could just get these old geezers over the hump and see what we can do. We can make a run for it, but that's what I'm saying. I wonder if Dame looks at that and goes, "Man, Julius Randle's having a season and he's playing well, and we can make some headway. And they need a point guard, and they could definitely pay me. They have the draft capital to get something done. So I
Right.
could see the Knicks in the conversation. And honestly, I think Dame would love New York City. He's big into the hip hop culture. He's immersed in all these different businesses. So I think New York would be a fit for him. But Dame is also a loyal guy. He's one of you. He's like you. You know what I mean? He wants to win it in Portland. Small market guy, kind of. You know what I mean? Has taken to the city, but you know how it is. You get older in sports, man. You start looking at the time and going, I only got but so many years to win a championship. So I think all that plays into it. But I do believe he's somebody to watch, and Luka Doncic is somebody to watch. Now, I don't think Luka Doncic does anything quite yet because he hasn't signed his rookie extension quite yet, and he's not turning down guaranteed money from the Mavericks. But I do think, depending on what happens with Porzingis and if they're able to trade him, and if that's a very interesting um conversation for sure. So there are a lot of different scenarios being, juggled in the air right now.
Sounds like a lot going on in the NBA.
Oh
I
yeah.
mean, there always is.
Oh
And
yeah.
they're always looking to do like the next thing or the next.
I mean,
What else could we do?
not so much necessarily Dame, because Dame's been in Portland for almost 10 years. He took 2 match
Right.
contracts with the Blazers, so he's the rare exception to the rule where you got Luca already probably looking at somewhere, and there's even talk that Zion maybe, what I mean, after a couple years in New Orleans, he may want greener, bigger pastures, but who knows? The league changes like every 3-4 years anyway, so who knows anything right now? Speaking of not knowing anything, you surprised me with a bit of news earlier, and we're gonna spend most of the rest of the show on this because I'm stunned. So everybody else obviously decides, let's back out of this Super League, but you have still 3 teams that are holding out some sort of faint hope. Of
Pretty much.
what do you make of this?
So, report earlier, Juventus could be kicked out of Serie A if they do not withdraw from the Super League, per Italian Football Federation president.
Now, explain to the people what Serie A is for the people that don't watch soccer. Really.
So the Italian Serie A is the top league in Italy. So there's Serie A and there's Serie B, which is like the minor leagues, and then you would have to be promoted to get to the Serie A.
Right.
So there's a lot of turmoil going on with Juventus at the moment because this is the first time in 9 seasons. That's right, 9 that they haven't won. They won it in. They won the past 9 times. They've won the league.
Wow.
That would be like, I don't know, a few years. That'd be like Golden State winning the NBA trophy 9 times.
That's equivalent to the Atlanta Braves winning like 14 pennants in a row, almost.
Right. And now Inter Milan won it this year. Ronaldo's not happy. There's a chance, slight chance, but a chance where Juventus may not be playing in Champions League, which is the biggest tournament if you're a big European club that you want to play in. They might have to play in the Europa League, which is, I kind of compare it to sort of like, think of the college football playoff, but like a step down from that. Like, it's nice. It's a tournament, but it's
like playing in the Tostitos Bowl when you really want to be playing in one of the big games. Yeah.
Yeah, it's not really, it's cute. It's a European trophy, but it ain't the Champions League is the big one. And so, when I'm hearing Ronaldo, maybe there's rumors that he wants to go back to Sporting Lisbon, which is where his career began. since he is Portuguese. That's where he started his soccer career.
Mhm.
There's always been rumors. What if he goes back to Manchester United? Which, I mean, and he had an incredible career pretty much everywhere he went. Also to Real Madrid, but that ain't happening. I highly doubt that. I think Man U would be more of a possibility. I always thought too that he maybe want to go to Bayern Munich simply because he hasn't played in Germany yet, and he's the type of dude. He's like LeBron.
They're
He
all the
wants to go to different teams and conquer.
right. Yeah.
You know, it's, um,
No, but that's what I'm saying. Like him leaving doesn't seem that far fetched if he's able to,
definitely not.
because we've seen him leave before. Now, is Bayern Munich the last pelt on his belt, so to speak, where he goes, "Let me see if I could win there. If I can win there, I might be the greatest soccer player ever."
And that's not even far fetched either, because the Bundesliga, it's a great league. Now, in terms of competing for the actual title, it's not that competitive because Bayern usually wins it by like December or January, like it's over already. They're just that dominant. But like in terms of fighting for like second, third, fourth to get in the Champions League, that's an exciting race. There's star-studded young talent in the league from all over the world. For American soccer fans, it's intriguing because over the years, many Americans have played there and, kind of grew their career there and then moved on. But the league certainly has a problem. Serie A, finally, they got another winner, but Bundesliga is, same thing. Bayern Munich just won their 9th straight title. So, and that's not really a great look for the league. You have the same team winning over and over and over and over again.
I feel like there's not much parity in certain soccer leagues. Correct me if I'm wrong in feeling that.
No, you're correct. In terms of winning the trophy at the end of the day, no. Except for the Premier League, which is why it is the best league in the world. Because you even have La Liga, which is the top league in Spain. That, too, is Atletico Madrid, Barcelona, and Real Madrid. But that's every year, too.
This goes back to my whole problem with the Super League, though, because that's kind of almost like a Super League where you're annihilating all the good teams are annihilating all the bad teams, and there's really no middle ground except for in one league, basically. So it's like, how? I guess my question is, soccer knows it has a competition problem. How do we fix it?
Right. In many leagues, you look at even the Netherlands too. It's always Ajax who is the top team, and they play in Amsterdam. They constantly win that league. You look at Portugal; it's always Sporting Lisbon or FC Porto. Greece, it's always Olympiacos, or I could go on and on. But you get like you said, in not many leagues, there's really no parity. But again, the Premier League, I mean, you've had Leicester City win it. That was still in our WKRB days. And we would talk about that.
5,000 to 1 when they won it, if I remember.
Yes.
Correctly.
Yep.
Wow.
Good memory. Yeah, 5,000 to 1. But even in the Premier League era, you've had other considerably smaller clubs win the trophy. Not in a long time, but they've still
good, though. That's good. That it's like a mid-major school. It's almost like a mid-major school in college, like Chicago Loyola, or you got
correct.
all
Yeah,
schools that nobody's really heard of, and they ended up making deep tournament runs. And you look around, and Chicago Loyola is an 8 seed, and they're taking top 4 teams to the brink of elimination, and that's good for sports because upset breeds drama. So,
no doubt.
but the fact that soccer still hasn't taken advantage of that model, like, is there a way and I know you probably can't answer this question, or maybe I can do a better job of framing the question so we can get a more clarified answer. But is there a way where you can kind of, and I know this is sort of like a super league, but put teams in regions where you know that it'll raise competition, where instead of having the same teams win year in and year out, if you can't compete, then you need to be relegated, and you're automatically relegated depending on your numbers and how close you come to competing. Like they need to do like a realignment, readjustment to how your relegation system works. Because 9 years in a row, bro, that's like, where's the fun in that?
Right.
Is there a way that that can be done?
And amazingly, fans of multiple teams, besides the team that wins every time, goes to games and all that stuff, and it's remarkable. But normally in majority of the big European leagues, whether it be France, Italy, Spain, so on, it's usually like the bottom three teams, and that's it, that get relegated. If you're above that, then you're good. So in your mind, you're thinking, is there a way maybe to make not just three, but even more of those teams, if they stink, can they be relegated and promote other teams besides, like, for example, in England, you have the Championship, which is like the next league under the Premier League. So, and those three teams move up.
Mm-hmm.
You're thinking, and correct me if I'm wrong, you want, let's say, 5 or 6 of those teams to get a shot and
Yeah,
go,
give me
hey,
more options. Give me more options. Yeah.
and see different teams as well.
Yeah, and maybe it creates an upset where you get a team
Will
that
they
comes
have
up.
to do that? Probably not. It's not a bit, because at first I was like, I don't know about that, but now I'm thinking about it. You're not really changing they call it the pyramid, the way English football is set up. It's still promotion relegation. You're just subtracting less teams and adding more teams to
Right.
kind of, give them a fair shake.
Yeah,
So
because
it's
I.
possible. But now it all depends on who those teams might be, and the Premier League would probably look into that.
Mhm.
Because there are, yes, you have the big 6 teams, but there's also other teams in England that have a certain cachet and a certain,
And I get it. A lot of it is a money grab too. So whatever makes the sport the most money is what they're gonna do. And usually the teams that are in those quote unquote smaller markets great don't make for great revenue. But for a fan of the sport, you have to believe that there are players and teams that would love to get in on the action if they could.
absolutely. Um, I'm just looking at the championship, and not for nothing. I mean, so the top 3 teams that are gonna make it next year: Norwich City, who are Watford, and Brentford, who 3. I would say Norwich City and Watford definitely have a prominent status in England, but even you go down, Bournemouth, Swansea. I mean, I can name a lot of these teams. Nottingham, well, they're really low. But a lot of these teams, though, I mean, they do have that aura and that cachet in the history of playing in the top flight in England. So,
Mhm.
does the Premier League maybe eventually, you know what? Let's add like a couple more teams, or we'll do 14. We'll start with, instead of 3, we'll promote and relegate 4 clubs. Might be something to think about. Even in other sports as well. Um, but yeah, it's when you have the money, man, and you invest in your club, it it definitely shows. There's no doubt about it.
Yeah, and that's a disadvantage too, which goes back to the whole revenue sharing thing. If we can actually share revenue and teams can get a real cut,
Whose phone is that?
yours, and
Mhm.
teams get a real cut on the amount of money being spent or made, I think
Right.
it'll be better for the sport. But in all actuality, can you see all these teams doing that? No, because it doesn't make them great amount of money, and it doesn't allow them to um doesn't allow them to um benefit monetarily, which is obviously what it's all about. But my idea and why I'm fascinated is when you change the monetary status
Mhm.
Oh, his name was maybe. Wendy.
and you
My mother.
and you are able to make sure that everybody gets a cut of the pie, that's the best way to go about it. But what do I know? I'm just trying to make it better because I would be interested in soccer if it was more open, if it wasn't, because it feels kind of closed circuit, to be honest. To me, it feels kind of closed circuit. It doesn't feel like everybody has a shot,
Sí, mami, bendición.
but
¿Eh?
um,
¿Eh?
hopefully it
No,
changes
estoy
because
cortando, estoy
it
cortando
sucks, to be
ratito,
honest
porque
with you.
ayer no hace poco.
Oh, definitely. I used to watch all the leagues
Y
obsessively, but like after a while, I just really watch the Premier League, to be honest. And the big tournaments and the MLS here and there. I'll watch it and follow it.
Mhm.
Even that too, they gotta really, in my opinion, change a lot. It's moving in the right direction, but I don't know. For me, there's got to be a lot of change with that, but that could be a whole nother discussion another day.
Right.
But I agree. Oh, there definitely has to be some kind of a change um, in these leagues. There was talk, I want to say maybe a month ago, about the Belgian league and the Dutch league maybe combining together, which could possibly work. They border each other. There's not many teams in both leagues like some other leagues. So do you do that?
I mean, it's a conversation. I think you have to be open to all the different scenarios at play because it creates for a more competitive environment. If it's just going to be the same teams winning every year, it only perpetuates the problem that we're not trying to change. We're just trying to keep it status quo. You understand what I'm saying? So where are we? What are we doing different to make sure that everybody, all of these teams get a fair shake? You know what I'm saying? And it's kind of
100%.
like in the NBA. Like in the NBA, I get why a lot of people don't like the NBA because it's always a super team. We've seen it for a number of years now. The Warriors, the Heat before them, the Celtics before that. And it's like when you create all these super teams and when you have stars going to all these different markets, you really create a separation of powers where it's like there's the elite of the elite, and then there's everybody else, and everybody else kind of has to scratch and claw. Where
Correct.
you've seen Golden State win championships. It was like that in baseball for many years too. It was the Yankees, Red Sox, and then everybody else.
Braves or
Right,
in the 90s, yeah.
right, and even in the 2000s, it was still Yankees, Braves, and everybody else. I mean, Yankees, Red Sox, and everybody. It wasn't. There wasn't really
In
this.
football, you see it too. Although the Chiefs did win a couple years ago, Tampa had a super team, but
I'm
they
saying
haven't won it since the 2002 season. But yeah, football too definitely has that issue.
names every year: Brady, Breeze, Rogers, Mahomes, this one, that. Like, when are we gonna get some influx of new guys in there, new
When are
teams?
we gonna get All right, I'm just kidding. We got years for that. No, but
Really, baby, there he is.
no, I ain't going that far yet.
Zach Willie, baby, there he
Although
is.
all weekend I was getting tweets of minicamp. Oh, look at Zach Wilson doing the drills. I'm like, that's great. I don't care.
Oh
Tell me
man,
something when he's got defenses bum rushing him every play. Then I want to see what
the
happens.
NFL, we got a major announcement. We might as well make it now.
Major announcement.
We're doing a special Wednesday night schedule show live,
Okay, good.
8 p.m. Wednesday night. Be here. You don't want to
That's
miss
8 o'clock.
on the dot. Big Dog's actually gonna make a video. I want to say tomorrow, giving you guys further details on it. But
Yes, and tell you guys to promote. Me and Stefan are gonna, remind you to promote it and
Jerry, yeah, all that. So NFL schedule frenzy is what this show is going to be called, and we're going to break down all the marquee matchups, individual matchups.
we're gonna give you our Browns Jets win-loss records.
Yeah,
We're gonna go over the primetime schedules.
even some Giant, we're going to do some Giants because we still got some Giant fans that watch the show.
Yeah, the Eagles, whatever team you're a fan of, and you're like, oh, can you give us a win-loss? We'll do it.
Washington, Zach's
Washington football team, we'll do it.
There you go. And will Aaron Rodgers still be a Packer at the end of all this? Because I don't think so.
Yeah, I don't think so either.
I don't think so.
He out.
As the great Hawk Harrelson would say, he gone.
Ooh, wow.
He gone. By the way, if you don't know who Hawk Harrelson is, that guy,
I
White
don't know who that is.
Sox announcer for the past 40, retired a couple years ago. That's the guy that says you can put it on the board.
Oh,
Yeah.
now I know what you're talking about.
Chicago had some great announcers. Harry Carey.
Yeah, gang. Oh, God rest his soul, the great Harry Carey.
Singing "Take Me Out to the Ball Game," half buzzed. It was beautiful.
Did you ever see the video of Ozzy doing it?
Oh,
Yeah, hard to watch.
subtitles.
Yeah, that's when he was really messed up.
Well, we're gonna end the show with something special today. I know yesterday was Mother's Day, and we don't celebrate mothers enough in sports. So I want to take the time to point out a few women in sports that I think need some just due. You have Shannon Hogan, does pre and post for the Islanders. She does an exceptional job. She should be up for an Emmy, but we're biased. What the hell do we know?
Her and AJ Malesko do an awesome job. There's Rebecca Harlow, who does the Knicks games.
Right. Sarah Kustok, who does play-by-play for the Nets, does an exceptional job of calling games. She should.
Doris Burke, right? She does the NBA on ESPN.
Right. You have a bunch. Lauren Shahadi on MB Network. You have Heidi Watney also works for the network. You have Laura, the chick Julie Gardner that works for the NHL, and
Jamie Hirsch, Jackie Redmond.
Right. All these women, like, we want to take time to salute them because they are trailblazers. They're amazing. Sousa Waldman been in the Yankee radio booth for the last maybe, I want to say, close to 20 years almost.
Linda Cohn.
Right.
Who, she's been on ESPN since we're kids. She's been there a long time.
We were probably in our mother's wombs and she was there. So,
yeah, her, Steve Lee.
By the way, I'm sad, man. How does that ESPN get rid of Kenny Mayne?
Say that again?
How does ESPN get rid of Kenny Mayne? Did you hear about this? They got rid of Kenny Mayne.
No.
How do you get rid of Kenny Mayne?
They've been getting rid of a lot of people.
Yo, ESPN, you're on the list, fam. Yeah. Y'all been on the list for a couple months now, but that right there, that's sacrilegious. But you still keep Dopey K on. You still keep
Yeah, don't get me and
you
Stefan
still
started.
keep all these guys on there that don't need to be on there. But
Hey, Stephen A.
Kenny Mayne, you cut with
Kellerman.
Steve O Dopey A. You keep on there. Okay. Okay.
Dan Orlovsky.
Right,
Mel
right.
Piper.
No, so we just want to take the time to salute all these women, and I want to take the time to salute my mother. She puts up with my sports craziness for a long period of time.
And I salute my mother too.
She
She
puts
puts up a lot of, yeah.
with a lot of yelling, a lot of sleepless nights, West Coast games, and Ma, I want to watch this game. Ma, I want to do this, and Ma, I want to, she puts up with a
And
lot.
my grandpa also lives with us downstairs, so like sometimes I'm jumping, yelling, screaming, and she's
God
like,
bless.
she'd be like, relax. Grandpa might be sleeping down there. But I still go nuts.
Figures what the hell.
Listen, it's my team. I can't rule quiet then.
Yeah, so no, shouts out to the mothers. You guys are amazing. You make us go. Without you guys, we wouldn't be here. We didn't do more yesterday because yesterday was Mother's Day, obviously. So shout out to all the mothers. Happy Mother's Day. And in my world, every day is Mother's Day. So, tell your mother you love her because, few people we know aren't as lucky. So, if you have your mind, as they say in The Sopranos, my mind.
Yo, ma.
My man, as Paulie would say. Yeah, show him a little extra.
That was a great episode.
Yeah, I
I'm
know.
not going to spoil it for any. But if you still haven't seen The Sopranos yet,
What are you doing? What are you doing?
Oh, come on now.
Anyway, wow. Yeah, it's so happy Mother's Day to all the mothers out there.
Yes.
Again, special Wednesday show, 8:00. This guy's actually gonna take a nap and drink a couple cups of coffee. He's gonna be up.
Have soda with me or coffee on the show, cause
right. Yeah, we gotta load him up on caffeine.
But me and this guy thought of it. We're like, let's do something different, something special. So we're not gonna talk anything else. We're just gonna talk. We'll probably be on for an hour. Maybe longer, depending.
You guys are interested and you're into it, then
But you're gonna get live reaction. We'll have the TV on in front. We'll be on our phones and get the schedules in, and then we're gonna.
Speaking of live reactions and breaking news, I know we talked about the NBA earlier in the show, but I got it during the show. Celtics small forward Jaylen Brown, done for the year with a fractured wrist, will miss the remainder of the season and the playoffs. So there goes Boston's chances of making some relative noise. That was reported by Tim Bontemps of ESPN. So get well, Jaylen Brown, and hopefully, we'll see him at the start of next season because that is absolutely brutal.
Definitely.
All right. Anyway, guys, this was fun. Big Dog, I see you Wednesday, and all right, load up and we'll be all right. Thank you guys for joining us, and we'll talk soon.
Let's go Islanders tonight.
Well, you had to get that little last part in.
I may wear something Jets Wednesday. We'll see. The only exception I might do is my classic Wayne Corbett jersey. I might break it out. But after that, I ain't doing it again. But it's old school. It was before the Johnsons took over. It's Corbett, my guy. I may have to sport it because I know you're going to have all brown shit on. So
maybe.
I'm going to have something Jets.
Maybe not. Oh, man. Thank you, Frank.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. No, we'll keep you guys up to date. But Wednesday show is going to be super fascinating. So catch up with us.
Yeah, I love breaking down the schedules. Can't wait.
All right. Should be fun, man. See you Wednesday. Later, guys.